So, and I'll try to talk up, so just always let me know if I'm not loud enough. And I gave a talk last week at the Seattle Startup Week, and it was about an hour. There's a lot of content in here, so to this talk, I'll probably have an hour and 20 minutes and try to take a little bit more time. I think you were there last week and you said went really fast. So just an FYI on that, and you guys can leave early if you guys wanted to. So
are we going to get slides?
Yes,
yeah.
They're posted on SlideShares already, and slideshare.com, and I'll update this with some couple new slides. So with this, normally you lean startup and do validation really early, and then you go build a product and get in the market, and then this is about full marketing, customer acquisition to do growth. I say from 0 product launch up to 3 million. There's a SKU of this you can do early on for validation. So for a lot of the lean startup validation early on, you might not care about profitable customer acquisition. You might want something that's very fast blast. Maybe you put up a landing page and you want AdWords, and you're gonna go put $300 in AdWords and go drive some traffic and go validate a few things. So AdWords is something that you can kind of blast on, turn on for a little bit of time, and go make that happen. And you don't really care if it's profitable or not. This right here is about a systematic way to grow a large amount of traffic. It takes a little bit more investment, so I wouldn't say you kind of do it immediately. Although later we'll talk about a SKU with this you can kind of do early on to help with a certain aspect of this. So this is all about once you have a company and you want to go traffic and grow customers, it's all about a methodology for that.
So are you saying this is after product market fit is really what you're focused on?
It's very early on with the lean startup, you want to go validate it, and it's like go drive people you go talk to, and you go dive into this and that and pricing, and do they really want to care?
So before product market fit, where you're still doing the validation of the product idea.
Yeah, I would say like if you think of it as a number of months, like in the first month you really want to validate a whole bunch of base assumptions and a whole bunch of stuff. So that's where you want really fast, lightweight tools and validate a whole bunch of stuff. Once you come out with a positive idea, let's say you throw away 3 bad ideas and eventually you find a great idea, then you start to build product and interact with people. This is a full system to go grow traffic at that point. There's a very unique SKU, like for early on you can use AdWords to just do a blast to a landing page. That's a really fast, lightweight blast, lighter than this. You could use this for a certain SKU of in-depth interviews with your target audience, and it can be helpful for that. But otherwise, this is a little bit later stage. So I would just recommend AdWords or something really lightweight for early on. And so later, I'll go post the video on here. It's recording the screen and the audio, and so I'll have a video on this. This is my talk from last time. I'll explain the background about me. That'll help explain the context of this. So I created a B2B enterprise SaaS company with machine learning, raised $2.7 million in capital, and that got acquired. Then after an earnout, created another B2C company, and then went almost 2 years, and we built, got launched, got customers cheap and at scale, but we couldn't quite turn profitable, so we had to make a clear decision and wrap that up. And then what I'm doing now is I have a neat little thing where instead of angel investing directly, I have a number of software engineers, and I find about 3 business founders, and then I come in as technical co-founder, and I bring in 3 software engineers, and we systematically grow the company really fast and build it out. So that's kind of a hobby I do, and it's kind of what I just do in my passion. But in about 5 months or less, we get launched with a full product after we do validation early on. Then it's all about being in the market and duking it out for customer acquisition. And so this is basically, since I live and breathe that whole stage of it, this is kind of the outcome of what I found about this. So for the goals of customer acquisition, the whole idea is that this starts to give you a holistic marketing plan. You can work it and have something that works holistically, and it's that grows from 0 to 3 million in revenue. So it ends up being one clear strategy that works. And if you talk to some startups, they often have a little hodgepodge of this and that. This is about one clear package, one clear strategy, and then a way to go off and acquire people, grab them by the ear, and drive them over to your website. It's that part of customer acquisition, which is often very hard, especially cost effectively. And then the next part is, once they hit your landing page or your website, you actually need to spend time with them to learn your story and trust, and to go through until they buy. So they often have to have a deeper amount of education about you and trust before they actually buy. So it helps accomplish that, a deeper level of marketing. And then it has a way to do management of growth, costs, and down to a board. If you have investors with a board and you're coming in with your go-to-market plan and customer acquisition costs going forward, it helps with that. So in the end, we'll kind of deal with a whole financial model to make it kind of very clear to kind of see the metrics run across a holistic plan. So the first part, what I found is people often want some silver bullet to marketing. Oh, if I put a little coin in, it'll help acquire customers. I don't have to do any work. And so they often fight kind of rolling out this customer acquisition plan. So what I found is if you actually think of another startup, and when they kind of talk, they'll say, well, I have some meetings during the month and I try a little bit of stuff, but my growth is not happening. My traffic is not scaling up, my revenue is not scaling up. If you kind of advise them, what should they do? Should they do something else or do this plan? You'll start to advocate this plan, and then you'll start to find out, hey, this makes sense for me too. This is quite scalable. I'll go over a company that's B2B, B2C with acquiring people for personal training, and then also B2P, business to professional, because they acquire the trainers and help match them. And then another one was GoPro Camera, a very consumer company. This works very well for that. And then there's a couple of B2B SaaS companies that sell to Amazon, like Fortune 100. The system actually works really well for that. And then yoga studio owners, which is B2B on small to medium businesses. So it's a very malleable plan, and we'll kind of go into details of this. But almost pretend like you're an advisor to one or two of these companies and think, does this plan make sense for this? And through this, you'll start to see that fit. And so I want to go explain the mapping of customer acquisition. So up here you have your target buyer, and you'll get to understand that target buyer. And then down here is your marketing website, your landing page, your home page. Then later you have them create accounts, free accounts, and then later they use it enough to go upsell to be a paid product. And then you effectively often need to pull them through. So up in link sites, there's a whole bunch of sites that are like Reddit. So for the fitness industry, they have the fitness section of Reddit. And so there's a lot of people in that space go to their part of the Reddits, or certain kind of industry link sites like marketing has inbound.org. And then Hacker News is for the startup community. And then publishers, everything that used to be like a magazine, so there used to be like Adweek magazine for people in marketing, those things have all gone online as portals. And GeekWire is kind of our news reporters website for us. And so that has a lot of traffic. It dials into niche target audience, target buyers. Think of your target buyer, and it's very valuable. YouTube, bloggers, SlideShare, YouTube, and Adweek are good examples. So we want to kind of drive traffic through to go pull them through to your site. So link sites is one category. Here's publishers. So for game programmers, they have Gama Sutra. Almost every target buyer has their publishers. And so Gama Sutra, they have reporters, they have great quality articles, and you eventually will want to go get traffic from here. We'll go into that. And then on your company's own website, you'll end up having marketing material on your website. So I'll do the planning around a content unit. We'll go into the details of that, and then go and talk about managing that at a bigger scale. So with a content unit, think that almost all startups use WordPress to be really lightweight. They can go in there like create an email. They can go in there and just say new post, type, and just create pages really fast. So the idea here about a content unit is having a page. It's maybe 3 to 5 paragraphs, not long content, and then a video. And the idea is we'll talk about how to go create the pages in larger quantity. So by having 3 to 5 paragraphs, it's not onerous to go produce them at scale. And then over here, I'll talk about kind of a curriculum of different topics. So we'll go into that. And so we'll talk about like doing interviews where you want to find an expert in your industry and go interview them. So if you're in the fitness space, you can go find people that are expert trainers for marathons, and then you go interview them and then record videos off of that. If it's I know one company doing B2B for leave administrators in HR and big companies. They can go interview those VPs of HR, and go get great content. So when you do an interview, you often want to find what insights does this person know. Are they great at one industry? If it's personal training, they might be great at and specialized at marathons. So you start to go find some marathon topics that they have great insights on, and you want to go kind of focus the interview on what insights do they have, and they'll often have some pretty supporting details, big interesting points about that topic. Well, if you do an interview, you might do a 22-minute interview with somebody, and you later can go off and chop out 3-minute videos. So they might first go into one topic, one for triathlons. They talk about this, make some big points, and you capture that. You later chop that out for a triathlon video, and then later go off and chop the next section of the video off for another area. And the goal is to create different pages and have them focus on greatness in one area, and then you can move on to the next area. And so why content units? So one thing that will happen is you'll see a lot of startups that kind of like when they get a product and they start to try to grow their revenue, they'll have some meetings around town, but the month will finish and they really have not had a big reach. And so my big mantra is the reason we do startups is we're being innovative in some important area. And so my belief is that a startup has to go tell their story and go convince people on why to believe, why to trust a new product, believe that they can go solve their pain and solve it in a new way. And you basically need a forum, a space to be able to go tell that story and connect to the person. This is the problem, you have that problem, here's how we solve it, and here's a better product carrying that out, and have them move through. So that first drives understanding, and then trust, and then opening up to being a buyer. So they often need enough time to get you to know enough before they start to open up their wallet, and both understanding and then trust. Trust ends up being quite important, especially for fintech companies or healthcare companies, and a lot of certain companies, they have to trust you a lot to move forward. And so Dave McClure is a famous guy in Silicon Valley, and here was his slide on trying to map out all marketing channels. So you have acquisition, trying to grab people by the ear or bring them to your website, and then you have this funnel. And the funnel is when they hit your one page and they might bounce off. They have a very shallow understanding of you. But the idea is you want to pull them through the funnel, which means you educate them more and more and more about your product. So if they spend 12 seconds on the one page and leave, they might not understand you at all. They'll have a very, very shallow, maybe a misunderstanding of you. But the more time they spend with you, they'll be hearing your story and getting more educated about you. And then you pull them through until they buy. Then you have retention. If they have a one-time experience, you want to be able to market and pull them back. And then referral marketing, you want to go off and have them invite in friends. So I'll call out, a lot of channels are hugely expensive and don't scale. So most startups don't just pick one and it scales their whole business. That's why marketing is kind of challenging. One I'll call out outside of us, which is retargeting. So retargeting is this one unique one where somebody came to your site and then they leave. The ad networks will actually track cookies and show your ads wherever they go. So that's the one thing I would say everyone should do. It's really, really cheap, and it'll often take a lot of people who have a one-page experience and leave, and they'll bring them back and they'll go buy. So generally, because it's so cost-effective for the networks to do that, that's often very profitable, but it doesn't scale, but it's useful to add.
So Dave McClure's talk is 2007 Seattle Ignite. There's a 5-minute video, and it's called R, Metrics for Pirates. And so if you haven't seen that video, you have to see that video. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't seen it recently, you have to go back and look at it again, because it's fundamental to driving a lot of this conversation.
Yeah, and the big point was it helps you understand the whole network of it, and it's about being scrappy and getting out there. So this ends up being a whole set of channels. So what I find is on the last one, a lot of them are paid, and you just can't scale them. It's just money losing. So this whole system will talk about it being create a content unit, and when you create one content unit, I'll talk later how you can push out across a whole bunch of channels, and they each start to generate a stream of traffic. Nothing is gargantuan, but they all generate a stream. And so between pushing one out and making sure it lights up the channels is important, and then secondarily pushing out more and more of these units will be helpful. And the thing I want to drive home is a video is very, very powerful, because if somebody just clicks on a link, sees a little page and a link, they'll come to the top of your website and see one page. If they're off and they're on YouTube and they saw a 2 to 3 minute video of you, they will have learned a lot of it. Basically, that was a forum to tell the story of you guys mapping to how people can go use you, and they learn about your company and your product. And when they come to the website, they trust you. Their level of trust has raised to some degree. So they're basically jumping down the funnel, and the funnel is about how educated they are and likely to convert. So a shockingly interesting thing is when they watch a video and it's a good video connecting with them, they'll be farther down the funnel, and a smaller number of people watching videos will be so much closer to converting. If people just come, a lot of them will bounce, and you'll have to get a lot of traffic that'll kind of get burned up until you get somebody that kind of naturally comes down through here. So YouTube is very, very powerful. Basically, I always kind of tease that God gave you a right to your target customer, and there's this space out there in the world, and that is that your target customer comes out and they will go watch videos in their space. So like I'll always talk about a yoga studio owner, and so if they read this thing that goes off in the news, people at yoga studios are having a high rate of ACL industry and ACL injuries, and they're suing the studios and they're winning. And so if that news went across yoga studios, they'll all click through and see the video on what's going on there. And that might not be your video, but they'll come in and see that video. So your target buyer, let's say it's yoga studio owners, they're going to come through, they're going to see videos that are really interesting in that space. YouTube has this related video list next to the videos. And I often find entrepreneurs don't click through as much, but most people, when they finish one, they're just click through the next one. Which one's interesting, and click through. And it's basically that target buyer has videos lined up exactly for that target buyer, and that's why they convert. And so this is a space, and if there's two startups, one telling their story in videos and have quite a few number of them, Google will take that audience and will go, of a video that you don't own, and go fill it with your videos, and they'll be clicking through and watching your videos. And it's free. And basically, I pretend it's like God-given space to that customer audience. You either take it or you're abandoning it for random traffic or your competitors. And so if you look at two startups, one's creating this content telling their story, they'll take the space and they'll get all this traffic for free. Another startup will end up just not recording the videos, not doing the content, and they'll completely abandon this powerful channel. So any questions?
You're referring to the videos on the side authored by you, presumably, right?
What ends up happening on YouTube is when they come in to see a video, Google is showing videos from various providers.
Right.
The person who created this video has zero control over this.
Right.
Google has this correlation to find out which videos is somebody watching this most likely to stay on their site and watch another video.
Sure.
And so they're auto-packing this with machine learning to find the best videos that they'll likely watch another video and see.
Based on keywords and topics.
Yes, and also past behavior. So when that kind of does the first foundation, then they go find empirically after the fact, whatever reason they watch more of these than those, and they start to go, it's almost like Netflix, they go find out, you like histories and whatever, they start to go find out different aspects about you, and then they find, okay, we'll find the videos that you're likely to go to next.
So, sorry, I'm sure I have to ask this though.
Yeah.
So would you, it seems you're advocating for very short videos that are very much focused on a single topic. And so my presumption would be that this is like a bunch of blog posts, that there would be like 8 or 9 related topics about a problem. Which is the best way I was told to write about the blog posts, talk about the problem.
And these won't be blog posts, but think about it lightweight. Lightweights, yes. And you want to
talking about the problems in the space.
Yes, and anything that's interesting. So it'll normally be your target buyer flowing through to help them in whatever way. Closer to your problem space is better. And you often want to kind of show it related to yours. So it could end up being, like if it's GoPro camera, they can kind of interview the surfer and like, oh, you're winning the contest, and how is it like to surf here on this beach, and how well you're technique to win. And then, oh, by the way, for curls, an awesome technique for GoPro pro cameras to capture them the best is to do this and this. So you can often have a video that's very relevant to that audience, and then your stuff can often fit in one way or another, and it doesn't have to be 80% of the conversation, it can be 20%, but it ends up building, it captures the attention of your audience, and it shows that you're very adjacent, and you feed back and forth to each other. And they learn about you invariably, and then they start to trust you more and more. Yeah?
Does this strategy apply to something like a Periscope or Vine?
Oh, totally, totally. And I say basically create the main content unit, which is the video and then the website page. And then if you basically want to then fling them out every channel. So Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and everything else. And so you can kind of just think about, you're basically pulsing them out, and those are just links back to your content page with that. And that's exactly, that's basically a whole bunch of these are Instagram and Pinterest. And we make your main content unit over here. You'll create your own page, and then you have publish it on YouTube. You can then republish it on SlideShare often, and then you want to go light up the social, the Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, and a whole bunch of others. So, so here, I was going to have a friend that's doing a startup with personal trainers, and I was showing him. I'm like, okay, let's search for personal trainers, and then here was a channel that somebody made, and when you search for personal trainers, that was the top entry you get, and you open it up. And it's a guy who's an awesome guy who gets this. I think it's not a big company, it's a one-man consulting firm. And he just cranked out videos, and he made a nice little bitmap, and he filled out a couple paragraphs here. But he basically took a free page to fill out for a channel, and he just made it look not bad. And now he owns the top slot for personal training, which is the target audience. So he took his entire target audience, and he gets all that traffic, and he pays nothing for it. And when they come here, they actually get a lot of respect for him, right? These videos look professional, and when they start to go watch a video, they start to go build a personal connection with him. What does he do in this space? What is he great at? Hey, I'm liking this guy. They come out the back end of it, understanding him, and then trusting him, and his right target audience will start to go reach out to him. Does that make sense?
How long do you think it took him to do that well?
I think it's a function of the videos. So, and then we'll kind of talk about that stuff. So it's all about the videos. I think the text and the images are quite easy. But I didn't find anybody else creating a personal training top channel. I was shocked on, it's a lot of traffic, it's a big area, but people just don't take advantage of it. So insights dominate all, and this comes back to being able to create content with low labor and create higher numbers of them, and capture what needs to be there to drive quality without a big cost problem with videos. And so here's the insight is, quality does not trump, insights are what trumps. And so what ends up happening is, if somebody goes watches a 3-minute video, and by the way, people don't want 40-minute videos. They could be a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe 4 or 5, but normally you can make your points and get out, and if you're actually focused that way, 3-minute videos actually can cover a whole bunch. So the whole point is, if you go make an insight that's powerful for your target audience, they'll have greatly appreciate it, and they don't have to be, people can drop $40,000 in a really polished video and After Effects, and it's just a huge waste of money. So I'll give an example. Let's say a site is selling to yoga studio owners. So they go off and they created a list of these, and so the first one is how to set the prices, how to set the best prices for a yoga studio. And they watch a 3-minute video, and it's about hitting that topic. Here's great insights on how to do that, and it's just informally done. Maybe it's a little shaky, maybe it's just PowerPoint recorded. They're very, very forgiving on that stuff as long as the insights are there. If the insights are there, they walk away saying, I'm happy to spend my 3 minutes there. I learned something. I won't forget it. I'll take it through for the rest of my life. They're shockingly forgiving on the quality. So if they go and they watch that video on how to set prices, and they're like, I got a lot of good stuff out of that. And then down below it is how to set how to structure a monthly plan for your yoga studio students. And then they see a couple of others, like how to prevent injury, how to drive customers, how to do marketing, how to do branding for yoga studios. They're like, hey, I'm this target buyer. You're speaking to me. And I love the first video, and so you'll, as long as you have the insights, they will start to click through the other ones because you're saying, you're speaking to me, the insights are here, I'll keep clicking and watching these videos. Does that make sense? So the quality, you want to be good enough that it's not problematic, but you really want to focus on quality, and you want to make sure that each one has insights and go from there. So, and when you interview experts, that's very powerful. If you have experts and they're giving amazing insights from them, then you're often nailing the insight level. And so here's Yoga Studio,
Sorry,
and then
on your previous point, a quick question. Do you brand those videos in any way? In other words, they may find the content interesting and relevant, but how do you make them leap from, oh, this is interesting content, to, oh, and this is a person I want to do business with, or this is a company I want to do business with?
And you can find out either if you want slides on the video, like I'm recording this video right here, and you can put your brand in the corner. Some of the slides will talk about what your product does, or so if you're interviewing some expert about your space, say an expert that's grown to 20 yoga studios, and you're like, oh, how did you do customer acquisition? We're diving into that, and they're giving these big points, and oh yeah, we have this product over here about social media, and we have some dudes doing this and this. What do you think about that? And then they'll go off of, oh, I especially love this and this. And so you can kind of go back and forth and tag team on that to go find out the big insights. And then you talk about how you're trying to help these audience go forward. They're talking about how to go forward in that space, and you're like, hey, what do you think about these things we're doing to move people forward? They're going to naturally feed off of that and answer questions on that and talk about the details there. So the goal is they don't have to know your product from a tour point of view, but they just have to kind of see that you're solving a goal and that you're credible, and it's enough that they want to learn more. So, creating content units at scale. One thing to do is, startups are often like, oh, I'm going to run around for some meetings across the month, but I tell them to be very much almost like a heads down, treat a day like a customer acquisition day, and just be 8 in the morning and crank things out. So when you start the week, go find experts to interview on LinkedIn, and go try to build a list of 400 of them and send out emails. Hey, I think you're an expert. I'd love to interview you. Do you mind if I do that? Can we set this up time? And then you might only get 20 people that say yes. But that's enough to go pack your schedule from here on out for the next week or two. And then that's a way to go off and pack your schedule. So it's okay if only 10 or 20% or 5% say yes. You can still get a lot of people in the interviews. And then the goal here is to try to get 4 per day as far as content sites coming out, a video and that, but you might have fewer interviews, and one interview might cut up into 3 videos, but you want kind of 4 articles coming out of that. Go ahead.
Is there a way, you might get to this, but is there a way you found that's more effective in getting those interviews? Like presenting yourself, in terms of presenting yourself?
Sorry about that.
We're done.
Yeah. It's, I think have an idea of how you'd want to go talk to them, and just try to go find out what would be interesting about them. Like, if it's a fitness company, like think of marathons or weight trainers, and you start to build up a list of who are great people to talk about weight training or bodybuilding, and over here is about marathon training. And then just look at them and look at their background on LinkedIn and go, what would be great about certain aspects of that. And then you can send emails to them and really kind of flatter them, like, I love your work in marathons, and I think people would love to hear about how you do all the training on the water segment of that. And you go drill in with that, and then kind of basically tease them and say, you're an expert. Come share your brilliant knowledge with our customers. We should want to do an interview. And people often are just so flattered by that, they'll say yes, because someone's saying they're an expert and want to hear their opinions. I think there's a natural inclination to say yes.
Kind of ignorant here, but can you actually email 400 people using LinkedIn?
And through InMails, no, that's limited, but very often you can go drive emails. So you can go find out their company name, and you can try sending an email to Joe.Smith, Joe Smith, Jay Smith, you can kind of try off and off the emails, and who cares the ones that don't get through.
Twitter is also very effective, because you can direct message people or you can tweet them. I've had much better luck with Twitter personally than I have with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I mean, LinkedIn is good too, but Twitter seems to work pretty well.
And experts are often more open with their email address.
Just one thing, if you're doing a lot of LinkedIn searches, LinkedIn automatically detects after a while that your behavior is like a recruiter and would stop giving you search results. So just
So be careful.
save whatever you find as soon as you find it.
Wow. So then the idea here is if somebody's a dedicated marketing doing this, heads to the grindstone, that's 4 a day, all month long, that's about 80 videos at the end of the month. So just imagine if someone's doing this, it's a heads down marketing thing, we'll get into that. And so the CEO founder may do it part-time, but just kind of call out a day as customer acquisition day and clear everything out and just do only that and try to get 4 articles created that day. It's very much ahead to the nose of the grindstone and crank these out. And it's an important discipline that's really key to the whole thing. So what I would say is for startups, you can think of if your burn rate is $30,000 a month or higher or lower. And I often say, since founders can't go 3-4 years with no salary, factor your would-be salary into that. So if your burn rate is really low, the founder may want to do this themselves. If your burn rate's higher, your time to profitability is pretty important, and it's easy that if it takes 2 years when it could take 1 year, that's actually very costly at $30K a month or higher. So hiring somebody, and we'll get into that, it can be very cost effective, but it ends up that the CEO of the company often gets very distracted and running around doing a million things, filing taxes and raising capital and designing the screenshots for the next features. Having one person dedicated to marketing, the quantity is pretty key. So when hiring somebody, I put down kind of a sample cost structure for a certain reason. And it's key that they have a certain pay when they don't get the bonus, and they get another thing where they do get the bonus. So for a month, they either leave the month and they get the bonus, or they leave the month and they don't get the bonus. So in the beginning, when they're ramping up for the first month or two, you might have the target that they have to hit 3 videos a day every work day for the month, net that out to get the bonus. Eventually, you might raise that to 4 videos a day. You can kind of figure that out. But by doing that, then the person running the company can go kind of say, hey, you have a space to go be successful. You got to go find people to interview. You got to be great at interviewing them and create incredible interviews, and be able to kind of go crank these out and be self-driven to go off and do this and self-organize. And then you can earn your way to your target, your bonus or not. And then the CEO can often go off on screen designs and designing the product. And this person's kind of self-directing. And if they have to replace them, they can have some more metrics to go do that. But let somebody go off and earn a salary and make their own success that way. So with a larger quantity, if you think of it as every month you're creating a new layer of videos, 80 videos, and then that your assets every month that was former has built up an asset that stays with you, and you're just adding a new layer on top of that. And next month you add a new layer on top of that. So after 2 years, if you're hiring everybody, a new marketing person every 5 months, so you go for 4 months, then you hire a second one, go 4 months, and then hire another one per next month, you'll end up having 6,700 videos at the end of 2 years. So the number of videos adds up, and it adds up as a content where you're only paying for 80 in that new month per marketing person, but the total quantity starts to add up. And so I'll kind of talk about startups that go off and want to create a movement. So Salesforce, the CEO of Salesforce, wrote an awesome book about what he does, and he made a big point about this, is doing a mantra is really important. In his case, everyone was installing on-premises Oracle CRM software, and he was saying, hey, we're innovative, we're in the cloud, there's no deployment, no cost of deployment, no on-premises hassle. You just flip us on in 5 minutes and the software is working. No software or SaaS hosted software is the way to go. And he pushed that mantra, and then the reporters helped push that as the mantra, and it helped the reporters make reports that were not advertisements, self-serving advertisements, and it helped push a whole bunch of news and blogs and discussions and contention in the industry, and it all came back to, and Salesforce is pioneering this, and people love it with Salesforce, and it naturally brings the traffic right back to that industry. I think there's been this book about startups or techniques, and by calling it Lean Startups and giving it a clear moniker, and then talk about a movement and coming back to the moniker, and the movement and the moniker got mind share that would take and make more sales for some book than you would ever get without a mantra or without a movement. So they basically created a movement, and you guys and everyone has seen that success there. Khan Academy, I thought they created flipped classrooms. I guess they did not, but flipped classrooms ends up being a mantra, and John was telling about the flipped classrooms a little bit ago. And then inbound marketing, Moz has done this, and HubSpot. So they were kind of like, oh, we found things that should be done a little bit differently. But they came up with a clean, clear mantra name, and then they talk about the movement, and then get back to the name, and they make those tag team, and that's really swept across the marketing industry. And mine ends up being, since that's like a hodgepodge of powerful techniques, this ends up being a lightweight package to go make this work for startups with small budgets and small headcounts. So curriculum of content. So, for Khan Academy, if they dive into physics, and they'll go across gravity, has its subsections, and you get that kind of curriculum. Kind of think that way. So whenever you have your website, if you end up having the articles broken out, so if you're all about that yoga instructor or the studio owner, and they come here and they just read about prices, and then they have how to prevent litigation and how to grab customers and how to do marketing, they basically go, hey, I love you that you're speaking to me, yoga studio owners, and now these other topics are dialed into exactly yoga studio owners. They're gonna sit there and go click. So what I love about this is you win because they watch one video, they came in through SEO or Facebook link or wherever, they watch the video, their knowledge about you has increased, their trust has increased. They either create an account and start to go through your funnel, or normally they would just bounce off your website, but it lets them have a third option, which is to go off and go pop to the next article. So for the first time, their first video, they've ramped up their knowledge and trust, and it's either high enough to convert and to pay, or they might hop to another article and they're going to ramp up their knowledge and trust even more, and they can hop to several articles and then before they leave. Because otherwise they would just normally leave with most websites that don't have other content there.
So one of the core things that you're assuming in this is that I've done market segmentation enough to actually know who my customer base is so that I can address them directly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and so think about for a fitness company, they might come along and say, hey, we'll start to go interview some bodybuilders, and then we do some triathlons, and so the topics will start to cluster out. Here's a whole bunch for bodybuilding, and here's a whole bunch for triathlons. So the triathlons will start to go feed off of those, and the bodybuilders will feed off of those. So you can start to actually hit multiple markets. And what I say for lean is really nice is line up the industry, and then you basically go create your mantra and go interview them. And then they're giving their insights in general. They're giving their insights on your mantra that you're pushing forward. They're giving the insights on how your company's product is helping implement that. And you can basically start to get validation out of these, and you just post them, and they start to act as customer acquisition. So then suddenly you start to get 10 people reaching out to you per day, and then 20 people and 30 people. And so you can basically, when you kind of don't know your customer segmentation perfectly, you can start to interview bodybuilder experts and ones in triathlons and start to build up the content. And then when people are reaching out to you, and you're like, why do all the marathoners reach out to me but bodybuilders don't? You almost don't care. You got empirical data on that they just do, and you go, okay, I want to go deeper in the marathoning, and I want to start to go specialize a little bit more in marathoning, right? So you can start to go use this in that's the area to use this in validation stuff. And you just start to go, okay, I should go more in this direction than that, and people starting to reach out to you. Let's see. So then the idea backlog, and let's say you have a marketing person or two hired, and just once a week start to brainstorm on ideas. Hey, what's funny in the industry? What's hilarious? What's contentious in the industry? What's new in the industry? And start to go pop ideas into a queue, and then start to reprioritize them. And so the idea is you'll outgrow what you can do in the next week, but the idea is you just bubble the best ideas to the top, and so for the next week you're just doing the best ideas, and then you're basically hitting the ones that are most likely to drive the most traffic, or convert people and connect better with people, or to go into a demographic you want to go into, or whatever it's going to be. But sooner or later, you want to basically there's some contention in the industry, and you happen to be interviewing all the experts in that, and maybe having some entertainment in that contention, and then you'll start to go drive traffic. It'll start to go be extra heavy, because just the fact that you're able to go do the quantity, you'll invariably sooner or later start to get the quality of some experts that'll start to come to you more than others, and then you'll just come some powerful ways to get traffic, and it's free. So, so earning your way to publishers and then link sites. So, so for link sites, I was talking to a company in a couple different spaces. Whatever space somebody's in, I think there's got to be a Reddit in there, subreddit for them. And so for fitness, someone else, I know this in that space, 4.5 million people are subscribed to fitness. And so there's a surprising number of big areas that have millions of people subscribed. And then even if they have some niche ones, they'll get really dialed in. So if they're for personal trainers proper, it'll be a much smaller audience, but your article will stick for like 3 or 4 days, and the people that you hit will be incredibly well dialed into you, and they'll convert really well. So basically, if you think of, if you're creating out great content, making attempts at amazing content, about 5% of those, for various reasons, will be incredibly interesting. They'll be funny, they'll hit an expert that's just brilliant, whatever, and you can start to submit them here, and you'll have, maybe your top 5% will have great cracks at climbing. So if it's a huge board, you might get here 3 times a year, but the traffic will be gargantuan, and there's almost no other way to earn your way to that. If it's a small niche board, you might be there once a month, and you've earned your way there in basically telling your story to a community that's exactly aligned. That earns it everywhere, and that is how you earn it on these spaces, and there's no way to kind of really shortcut the whole process. Does that make sense?
I'd like to do a little bit of demographics. How many people have looked at Reddit in the last week? 1, 2, 3, 3. How many have looked at Reddit in the last month? 4. How many have looked at Reddit in the last year? Okay. How many people have a Twitter address? More. How many people have tweeted that they're here in this room? 1. How many people have a Facebook address? How many people have done anything on Facebook in the last week where you're the publisher? A handful. How many have posted an Instagram in the last week? 2. How many have done a Pinterest posting in the last week? How many people have written a blog in the last week? How many people have done a video in the last week? 1. How many have ever done a video ever? Maybe a third of you. Okay.
How many have gone to Hacker News in the last week? That's better. And Hacker News, everyone should go there. That's often techniques that are perfectly dialed in for startups. And then there's inbound.org, and it's the same kind of Hacker News list of links, and it's all about acquiring customers. And SEO Moz is very powerful there, content marketing. It ends up being like, you can go pay for ads anywhere. This is about marketing that goes drives traffic without some massive cost structure. And it's very scrappy and interesting ideas that are especially powerful to small companies. So I'd recommend people go look at that. And Reddit has gargantuan amounts of traffic. It's one of the most trafficked on the web. So I think it's a little different demographic, but it has huge amount of traffic. So
you mean it has a different demographic, as in they're younger?
Younger and in niches. So goes really deep in certain niches.
So when something happened, what happened recently? An earthquake. There was an earthquake. How many people heard about the earthquake on the radio first? How many heard it on the TV first? How many got it on Twitter first? How many got it from their friends and not a digital media? How many people didn't know there was an earthquake?
Which earthquake are we talking about?
Okay.
So I'm calling out the link sites, but you can also think of a local publisher. So for the game industry, like Gamasutra is the top space. So if they go off and think about great interviews to do that could be very interesting for that audience, sooner or later they can tell a reporter, hey, this video is exactly targeted to the kind of article you would write. They can easily write an article around it and say, yeah, this company did this kind of amazing interview to help support this. And they'll often tailor that into that space. So like a good example is a fintech company I know in Bellevue. I built out their company, and I'm like, oh, we want to get you in GeekWire. And so I'm like, okay, there's fintech companies in New York, of course, are by far the biggest. And so, hey, I want you to start to do the mantra of, we want Seattle to grow as a great fintech company place for startups. And so go find the list of them and go find out the pros and cons of them and go do, start to crank out videos comparing New York against us and some interesting insights in that. And then so you can easily spin that into an article that John Cook would love to write of, hey, here's comparing Seattle and their fintech startups and ours and what's going on and showcasing some of the ones in our space. And invariably his startup will be among that list. And they'll quote the CEO of whatever startup, and this is what he thinks is important, and so on. So it's easy to go off and start to do stuff that's interesting in your space, but go tie it to things that are interesting, to other things very adjacent, then you can go get into articles and reporters and stuff. So spreadsheet modeling growth. So you want to basically start to go, for anything in marketing, you don't want to be in the hodgepodge of a little random stuff and you can't see where you're going, how much it's going to cost. If you go to a board of directors with serious investors, they're going to tear you apart. So I'll go through some of the metrics and some of the holistic view. So with this, Moz created Whiteboard Fridays. And it's the idea of time boxing, so keeping quality low, quantity high, and big on insights. So their mantra to go do that is every Friday, Rand comes into a whiteboard in their conference room, and he has a big insight, a big topic to drive home, and he just draws it on ink to keep the quality low and fast. And he says, okay, I got like 20 minutes to draw out the stuff on the whiteboard, hit on, and then he goes, here's the big point, here's the 3 supporting points. And then he wraps it up, and he can go knock out a video, and he can leave, and it's like 40 minutes, 90 minutes, no more than 2 hours. And he's created a great piece of content. It's great because of the insights, and he can get high quantity because he's not going to go spend 5 days on it. 5 days, you get 3 a quarter. If you can knock one out every Friday, you have to really kind of sandbox or time box the time and get in, get it done, get out. So I did a sampling of his videos, and they had just shy of 4,000 views per video. And on the higher end, that's a bell curve with the middle of the bell curve. So in the high end, it was 10,000 to 14,000 views. Some were lower, but that was right in the middle of the bell curve. So if you look at a bigger view of it, if you're creating 80 per month in new editions, 250 views per video per month. And so think of 4,000 views, assume they're a year and a half old, that's 250 views per month. And they don't push those videos overly heavy, and so the views add up, because you get multiplying going on here. And then with 20,000 views that are new, if someone was creating this quantity per month, that's 20,000 views per month of just the new videos, not including all the archive. And then you have a conversion rate to ratio, to revenue. So if you go look at 12 months of those videos, you're talking about 250,000 views, almost 250,000, and it's a far more revenue because of the built-up acquisition. So you're only paying for 80 to be added, but when you have 12 months of the old ones that you've added previously, it's a lot of traffic that keeps on flowing. That's where the power of this comes into. So I have a spreadsheet, and I'll give you a peek at this. You can always email me later, come through and ask for it, and then I'll send you a copy of the spreadsheet. And so my first page of the spreadsheet is inputs. And so I make these little panels. This is actually literally the spreadsheet. I turn off the grid. And you go enter the year and the price of your product and the views you'll get per view, per video per month, and then the conversion rate over to buying. So 0.3% buy in any 1 month for any one click. And then 4% convert to free accounts if you have free accounts. And then over time, the free accounts convert to paying accounts, 12% of them do. And this has 65 videos per employee per month instead of 80, so that goes low on that. So that the output tab, the next tab, ends up showing the month you entered, the year, and it builds out month by month traffic and the number of employees, and then you can go enter how you're going to ramp up on employees. If you're making the scale and revenue scaling, you just plow some of that revenue back into hiring another marketing person and keep having that marketing person count grow. So this is over about 2 years, and percent of the marketing people that get a bonus for that month, and new videos that month. So based on that one employee, adding a layer, and then eventually you have 2 employees, and then 3, and then the cumulative videos cranks up. So the fact that you keep adding on that list gets big in the number of videos, and the number of views per video as the total views is large, and then this ends up being the amount of revenue per month on that. So what's nice about this is you can go plug in your price point and your conversion rates to buy, and then go see your revenue grow over time. And you can also then find here's the total salaries. So here is the salaries, and then here's the revenue that comes out the back end, and you can start to come back it out to go find out customer cost acquisition, and you're finding per cost acquisition. And so what's interesting is, if you only have, like, say, 2 marketing people forever, your customer cost acquisition will just get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, because in the first month, it's only the new videos that are generating the traffic. In month 12, you got 1 addition, but 11 months prior, and all the 11 months prior, you're paying 0 for, and you're getting all those customers acquired. So that's what's really nice about this. And what I recommend for startups is buckle down and do this for the first 4 months. At the end of 4 months, you've had 3 months of that of videos generating traffic. And you can come back and you can start to go plug in real numbers for your business. How many views are you getting per video? What's the conversion rate that they go off to buy? How much do they sign up for free accounts? How much do the free accounts flow into paying accounts? Price points and so on. And you're basically have an empirical study, and by month 4, you're getting the key equation points plugged back in, dialed into your company. And so, since the asset grows by month 12, month 18, the numbers will be far more profitable, but you can start to really dial that in and find out how profitable and how much scale and so on.
You might have said it earlier, but so this model assumes that traffic is coming in from somewhere at a predictable rate. Where's that coming from?
So the part that I have a very bad visual on this is, it's really ugly as can be, so I apologize for that. But so the idea is you create one, and then you're going to get SEO traffic. So when you create a page, you're going to put a nice, great title on that. Yoga studio pricing, another one on yoga studio injuries, another one on yoga studio marketing. Then you're going to get a small fire hose coming off of SEO from Google searches. And then you can SEO, there's SEM you can go do to help prime that. For link sites, some of those will climb on your Reddits, some won't. So maybe only 3% climb on Reddits for various amounts of time, or whatever link site is going to be. Hacker News in some cases, inbound.org. Every industry tends to have them. So then that'll go off, and you get a subset of those sending off traffic, but it'll be good amounts. Some could be some PR, so you go try to find some of those you go, okay, I think I can go find it's a great match for this reporter and recommend this story and use my video. And then you can go get some articles, and it might only be 3% of your articles or 1%, but that's still very valuable. And that's also true for bloggers. So treat bloggers as just small reporters. And content reshown. So if you do it right, you can go have a forum in your space. If you kind of split up the topic, you might even put the video in your own just to reply. Oh, here's how to best handle this. You plug in a video, and if it's credible, then they'll love it, and the videos start to get views. So each of these start to go shoot out a stream for every single content piece you make. YouTube will be a constant stream. They're over there, it's grabbing them by the ear and dragging them onto your site. Sooner or later, they're going to go and say, this is great. They type in your domain name, and they're off to your site. SlideShare is the same thing. You can upload videos to there. Upload them to Vimeo too, because Vimeo is another stream. They'll come off to you. And And then all these sites they can go push out links to them. Instagram and LinkedIn even has a way to go put an update on your company. And if you're doing amazing stuff in your industry, people will love it, especially the people related to you in that area. And then retention marketing. So the idea is you want to kind of, for each one of these you create, push them through all the ones that can make sense and get mileage out of. And for a lot of these, they should all start to go open up a stream from that one video. And some will take off higher or lower, and you just kind of let it be what it is and make that happen. Does that answer? So that's basically, they're off on other sites, but that's where the target audience lives. YouTube is a quintessential example. And as long as the content being valuable is the only way to earn your way there, it will earn your way there, and then they will love it because it will match with them, and then they'll click through at some ratio.
Yeah, I think you said you basically have to do a really, really good job on each and every channel to make that model work.
And think of the marketing person you hire. They don't have to be an expert or brilliant, but they have to be brilliant at interviewing. So you want to have them pull together some amazing person in their space and really pull out the brilliance that they have. So Robert Scoble did that for startups, and when he goes and drills into them, he didn't do a startup. He's just pulling the information out from the entrepreneur. And what makes his videos great is really the expert he's lined up and the insight he's pulling out from them.
So we did a survey, and most people did not have most of those in their behaviors. So you just suggested that perhaps they need to have more social media in their behaviors if they're going to acquire customers.
And that's competency of basically, when you're going to put your marketing hat on, this is the world of marketing channels. Treat everything as a marketing channel. Every blog in your space, and so someone could name out their niche industry for their startup.
Praveen, what's your startup?
Oh, I don't have an idea.
Okay. How about you?
Fashion technology.
Which one?
Fashion technology.
Fashion technology.
Fashion. Okay, great. For men, was it?
It's both applicable for men and women. It's actually B2B, so it stores to their customers.
And what's the niche?
E-commerce, but also omni-channel, bringing people into physical stores.
Okay. Do you focus on certain people, age range?
Well, not yet.
Okay.
So I'm here to find out which I should focus on.
Okay. So yeah, I think once you kind of dial that in, maybe you find college students end up resonating for you at the end.
Yeah.
So other people do marketing, and then basically people who go into marketing for strategic product marketing,
Yep.
they'll kind of do what you want there, which is market segmentation and all that, and market research. But once you kind of dial in your market, let's say it ends up being college students just goes crazy for you, and people that live in the beach and do heavy sports. If that ends up being your niche, then suddenly you can now sit there and say, now we know the target audience,
Yep.
and then they are watching the videos that fit them. And so if they love football, or stuff on this beach and jet skiing and wakeboarding, then you go off to the blogs that are about wakeboarding and the channels about wakeboarding, and you interview wakeboarders, and you just dive into the awesome people you can interview for that niche and create great interviews, and then you can go work in your stuff, right?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, it's interesting you raised the two examples I was going to raise. What's his face, Scoble,
Mhm.
back when he was working for Microsoft. I used to see him around campus all the time.
Yeah.
But Scoble, I don't want to get into the discussion of, is his website about Robert Scoble, or is it more about who he interviewed? Because that's the question I have for you. Same thing with Reed. Like, it's hilarious. If you look at the early videos of Moz, they're terrible, right? But now if you look at them, they're not terrible. They're really well put together.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to ask you. What comprises an interview?
And actually, Rand at Moz,
Rand.
early on, they've been flying him to be keynotes at the top marketing conferences across the globe,
Yeah.
France and everywhere, and everyone's kind of respected him back from the SEO days. So he's always had incredible insights. I would say the production quality was lower. Just know that I think they're past 10 million in revenue, and so now that they have a real marketing department and stuff like that, they'll start to go pay attention to some of the production quality.
Yeah.
Just know that early on, him packing them with insights, and he did, that's what got traffic, and that's what grew their company. The polish is something they start to, when they get 10 million and plus, then they start to care about brand a little bit more, and they can go find ways to go add some brand and keep the lightweight aspect down. I would say for startups is, I've seen so many startups that like, I talked to one person that says, like, I got like 6 people signing up all last month on their consumer site. I got 6 people signing up all last month. That's a complete failure. They got no traffic flowing. And he's like, well, I worry about creating videos because of brand. I'm like, nobody knows about you, right? And so it's very important to go off, and if you got videos of insights, if they're off on the beach interviewing a surfer that just won a competition, they don't care if the video's a little bit off, and they don't care if there's a little windy in the background, and they don't care if the lighting is not perfect. If you're talking to the brilliant guy in that space, they care for the insights, and they're very, very forgiving on the production quality.
That's what I was kind of wondering about. I don't know. The site wants to know, what is it supposed to look like? Is it supposed to be microphone shifting back and forth? Is it supposed to be the question is typed out? So what do you think about, the next month's fashion show or something? And then they answer. Is it about the presenter? Because presumably it really is.
Yeah.
Or is it about the person being interviewed?
So I recommend for startups is try to go basically sit in your office and you interview them through Skype or anything else. And Google Hangouts, I think you can just click a button, it'll go upload the whole video onto video. And Uber Conference will do the same thing, and other ones, you just hit a button and there are servers in the middle will go record all the video and give it to you out in the back end. So just go focus on the interview, have it of their webcam turned on because it makes a connection with that expert. People can see that expert and connect with that expert. Then you don't need to be on the camera there. And try to basically, before you start the interview, go find out, oh, hey, what do you think are really interesting in your space right now? And what are the big insights that you've learned you think other people have not seen? And try to go find out the insights. And then once you start the interview, hey, let's talk about that first thing, blah, 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 and then try to go dive in with them. And you basically need to go be an interviewer and go into an exciting area. So think of, for the entire space, say fitness, if there's bodybuilding and this guy's an expert in that area, you're going to go over in that area and then pick a topic that he's talking about and then dive into that, and you want to get him going and going off on things. So you should be in your mind, what's the insight we should be talking about? How do I get him started and excited and going? And then try to go pull out really great stuff. And make it's not so much about him or you, it's about amazing stuff in our space around an insight, and you're trying to help the conversation drive home the insight. Let him do that, and you do that. And then you kind of talk about your product and peripheral. Yours is a little bit harder because, I think if it's, fashion's kind of tricky that way, but I think a lot of other products, the products are very integral to helping them do whatever. And it's easier to work the product into that.
Colin had a question.
Yeah, it was just answered, so thank you.
See? So with this, so this will give you everything down to basically letting you have a dashboard, watching everything rise up, and if you have a choke point of a problem, let's say you're not getting 250 views per video. It'll basically tell you where you're weak, and you can go off and you can go dial things to be different. If you don't have enough views per video, you probably aren't pushing them out Instagram and Pinterest and Twitter. Maybe you need to grow your followers there or whatever, but go find out what do you need to go change to go get this account healthy. Once it's up and healthy, then you're all fine. You can go off to find some other bottleneck. You kind of dial your way that way. But what's interesting is with $3,500 per marketing person, when you see that they're generating enough revenue to go pay their way very easily, then the question is, why don't I just go hire another one and then double it and then double it? Once you've worked that out and be profitable, it's easy to go dial the number of marketing people and the quantity just increases. Any questions? Yep, so that's my kind of background. I love just pairing up with startups. And so what I'm going to do is have a couple of meetings every month. One on driving capital, acquiring capital for companies. And so find people who are raising capital and just go meet up and go talk about different investor forums and ways to go off and build pitch decks and do that stuff. I love just kind of working with people in the startup community. And then another one ends up being this customer acquisition. So as I help 2 or 3 companies go through this, I love it that way. We do some of the meetups on Google Hangouts and then a few in person. and just kind of check in, like what's working for somebody, what's not. How is Pinterest especially useful? How should they work it? How can I get more done with less time? And then just kind of trade techniques. So B2B will go a little heavy in some areas, and B2C will go heavy in other areas. So go ahead.
Just one more question about that last model, sorry. So in your experience, that's kind of a theory model. How many times would you say you've sort of gotten close to that from the start? Versus how often have you noticed reality is?
Yeah, so I've been shaping this a lot recently and going to push this out. So I'm pretty new on that model. What I would say is all of marketing is divided between paid ads, which has been there forever, and then everything else, Rand and Moz and HubSpot have really coined inbound marketing, which ends up meaning you gotta go do the hard work to do content marketing and tell your story and talk about great stuff in your community is great content. If you have great content, the traffic will flow in. It'll get onto blogs sooner or later. It'll get onto here or there sooner or later. And so they're kind of proving that the way you do marketing nowadays online without the ad side is create real marketing that really connects to the audience, and the traffic will flow. And so what you do is you push out the content, and then you basically get inbound calls. Hey, I've learned to really trust you. You guys are amazing in your space. You get the insights into the space. You stand ahead of everybody else, your competitors. Now I want to buy. Take my money and let me go use your product. By now I understand the product. So that general theory has been pushed forward. HubSpot's a massive company. I think they went public. And they've proven this out on a very more costly model. So if you got $3 million in revenue or more, you're for 5-person, 10-person, 20-person marketing departments probably using HubSpot, and they're pushing good budgets through that. So they've proven it out on bigger companies. Content marketing has been proven out so many times. Moz has proven it out with Whiteboard Fridays to a big scale with the empirical data right here. What I'm doing here is packaging it so that way instead of huge fees to HubSpot or a 20-person marketing department, it's dialed in for a 2-founder thing themselves or a $2,500 employee per month, and it's right-sized and very agile, and it's a way to especially utilize videos and other things. So
how many people know what their product is? Like a fifth of the room. How many people have $3,600 a month to spend on one marketing person that's good, that's producing what he just said? One. How many?
Already spending.
You're already spending it. How many people have a social media heartbeat of their own that has a brand enough that people are doing inbound for them already? One, sort of. Okay.
What I would say is if you build a product and it's launched, growth is everything. Let's say you really have no money. Like, stay in your house or your office and just crank out these videos, do the interviews. What you're basically doing is, certain people will go, I already had a couple meetings across town, across the month. My month ended. My story is not being told on the internet. All the people, my target audience going in the videos, they're just not there on YouTube. They close out the month and their story is not being told. The space online is not being taken. You're not getting traffic. You might as well take your month and you yourself sit down and just crank out the videos and spend all month doing it. Traction is make or break. And what you're doing is you're telling your story to huge numbers of people while you sleep. When your target audience hits videos in your space on YouTube, the relevant videos are starting to fill up with your videos. And you will have people saying, hey, I love what you're doing, come inbound to you.
So why video instead of blogs?
And what I do is basically try to get the insight and the 3 points in those 3 to 5 paragraphs. The point is, don't spend 5 pages.
So it's blogs derived from videos, and so the point of the videos is to give you insights for your blogs.
And I really don't do about blogs. They're about pages on the website, and the idea is have a curriculum to bounce across. But the idea is, you don't want a 20, 40-minute video, so you don't need a 20-page article. get the big insight there, get the 3 points there. When it's a target buyer, like say they're a yoga studio owner, they want to get the point out and get out, and they'll love it. And so they don't need that much in the text, and you would rather have them convert to sign up or go see another article than go sign up. Then the video, with a video, they'll get to know your product way better, and they'll get to trust you, and they'll hear your voice, and they'll start to go have emotional connection with you, and they'll just feel like, okay, we're having this great discussion with this expert, and the expert I trust, and this expert is spending time with this company, so they automatically raise up. And I like the interviewer, and so they build an emotional connection. Their education is just going to rise up naturally, and their trust and everything else. So it will do way more than the words. And if you try to go double the 15 paragraphs, you're just not going to get the trust and everything else.
Right. How many people here think that they could do 20 videos between now and next Monday?
Would that be a month? This would be a month. This would be. Let me think. I guess that would be a week.
Yeah.
That'd be all if you did only nothing else, like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Okay, why would you not be able to do 20 videos? What's your barrier?
Insights.
Insights. I have no insights.
Well,
Okay.
not.
Okay. I don't have 20 videos.
I had
for it,
20
so-
videos, that would be.
So how do I get 20 insightful videos in a week?
So if you get to open up the backlog and start to go, so think of a yoga studio. How do they get customers? How do they
All
do
the
branding? How do they do
problems that
pricing,
they have,
right? So yeah, and think of it as a target audience will have facets. And what space is best? Let me go tour different spaces. Let me go see how they decorate their space. Let me, you can often find silly stuff, but like, hey, I'm touring 20 videos, or I tour studio every Friday, right? And I'll run through. Oh, I love how you set up your music and whatever it is. So it's just a matter of you can just start interviewing people and discover that out, and just try to list facets of that target audience.
You can do it. You can't be hung up with technology. So when I was 17 years
Yeah.
old, I was an intern at KLAW Television in Lewiston, Idaho. So I just got into videos and going up Hell's Canyon, being an assistant cameraman. So I got an iPhone 6 Plus.
Mhm.
I recently spent 50 days with my client, and I produced about 60 videos.
So how many people have a cell phone in their pocket that has a camera? Everybody. Okay. Who knows who 20 of the top bloggers in their niche market is? Oh, not very many.
But who could find it out? Yeah.
How many people could find the 20 top bloggers in their niche market by next Monday? Yeah, people are reluctant here.
I think it's once
that's
you're
a hugely nice microphone you got going there. Is that important?
Let's see. I found you can get like $40 headsets with Plantronics or whatever it is, and it's USB and it's really high quality. And I think when you're interviewing somebody with the audio great and the speaker, not feeding back into the microphone, that's probably great. Some people use this. I use it for a room like this, and if people are asking questions, it captures their questions and it cuts out music bouncing, so that's kind of a unique thing. And this is $100. It looks all fancy, but it's like $100.
I've used an iPhone 6 Plus in all kinds of situations.
They're great.
You just got to know how to do it.
And this is a Samsung 6S. It's 1080i or 1080p, and it's like 60 frames a second. It's amazing. On the newest phones have incredible video, so you can sit there and video it and get a whole, it actually does stabilization and a whole bunch of good stuff. So if you just kind of just think lightweight and think of talking about your space, then just capture it. So what I did with a friend of mine is, like, when I built this company, I go, okay, here's a list of things we'll talk about. As I designed the screens, and he went through and talked about 3 minutes, and then talked about how he did brand, and then talked about how he did customer acquisition. And so you only need like 3 minutes, and then I walked away with like 18 videos. And so I can go create 18 pages, and he spent 40 minutes, and now 18 pages, and I spent 3 hours. And I got a lot of marketing coverage. It's not going to solve cancer or anything, but it's just going to go drive traffic. And
And so, how did you edit the video from the 40-minute ramblings to the 3-minute good stuff?
I ended up actually having a list, like, hey, I want to go talk about customer acquisition. Let's talk about how we did pricing strategies, and let's go talk about this. So I basically said, hey, let's go talk about pricing strategies, and then I kind of
Which tools do you have?
I actually did it. It was a sunny day, one of the rare sunny days, and I just outside of some place that has a nice trees in the background, and I just had my camera right here, and that was it, and just made it somewhat quiet, and then just had him go through a topic, and I didn't even tee off points like, hey, I thought it was really interesting, we did this and this and this, and then I start to record, and then he'll go off on stuff, and he'll tee up ideas in his mind that he can kind of start to repeat those ideas
So
if he didn't have
if you want to see
other ideas.
examples, you can go on my website. There's
Okay.
9 videos on the
Good.
website. Because I've tried to follow your rule is 3 minutes, no more than 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But you go on my website, you see 9 videos that I did with my iPhone 6.
Good.
And edited those.
Good.
And you can just
The
see.
website is called?
Yeah. It's johnblackandassociates.com.
Good.
And what I found is that you get hung up on the equipment. It's not the equipment, it's being bold, it's being able to go up, grab a CEO, whatever, and say, hey, could you step over here? I'd like to ask you some questions.
Yes.
Or whoever the hell it is. And that's the issue, that's usually the problem. It's not the equipment.
Totally. And so I would say, like, if you're in the fitness space and they have a marathon, run down there and find interesting people. Like, I think it's interesting because of this, and then go, can I interview you on this? And then they go off on all this stuff, and you can walk away with 12 interviews. Or another one is, like, say there's heads of HR. You might do a startup where, like, say ERE is one of the local places that's high end for HR and corporations. And you go host it at a startup, and you go coordinate it, and you bring the chips and all that, and you bring it, and great speaker. And then all you do is, when people come in that are running HR departments, you go, yeah, do you mind if I interview you on the most interesting things you're going on for you with this quarter? And they start to say what they are. Okay, right now I'm going to interview you. Now tell us about how you're doing such and such this quarter. Now, how do you want that to end? And who have you seen do that really well that you want to go learn from? And you go off and record that. And you can sit there and say, I'm not in that, heads of community, that community of heads of HR, but you can go get interviews from them. And then when you go off and send an email to some head of HR and say, yeah, I'm really excited about how you guys are rolling out Taleo for your stuff. And here's a link that I just got from T-Mobile's head of HR as I was talking to them about their rolling out their new ATS. And so you can have an email and start to go drop these as just references, and people will click through and watch them, and wow, you are interviewing the head of HR for T-Mobile, and they'll just have tons of respect for you being in some space when they wouldn't otherwise. So it gets credibility, it gets everything else. So I have a place to sign up, and it's if you kind of want to hear information over time. I have a Google group I just set up. I'll have a site that has the slide shares up there and the videos, and if we kind of meet once a month or something like that, people would trade notes on this.
So can you talk about some techniques that you use for customer acquisition before the product market fit?
Mm-hmm. I would say for tests, so I think really early, like in month 1, if you want to do tests, I think
when
AdWords.
the product is not even there.
Yeah. Then you can set up there's a lot of places on, you can throw up a simple WordPress or anything lightweight and go put a landing page on there, a Woohoo form or whatever, and then you can go use AdWords to go juice it and drive traffic there to whatever keywords to dump traffic there. And that could be helpful for just tests to go find out, will people sign up for it, or are they going to sign up for option A or option B or whatever. And when I did usability stuff, what I loved is try to go find people that are in my target audience. Like I did an education space startup, and so I want to talk to the parents and have them invite their kids in. And so then I had this list of age ranges and genders and homeschooling and higher income, lower income, and this and this and this. And so then I would go off and go work to go in, try to get somebody that give me an hour time, and I give them a $100 gift certificate. And then I started to interview them and all this information about them. Oh, how much do you care about this? Or how much do you care about that? And then when I used to do these things, I'd go find out, okay, I've done 4 for homeschooling parents. Now, what am I finding about homeschooling? Like, is that a really good market, or is that a pretty bad market? What are they caring about, and why? And then I'd start to go kind of balance the markets and do that stuff. So I used to kind of go really work hard to go get like interviews, and I found that when I can try to dig in, I can go kind of suss out knowledge to go validate this way or that way. AdWords can help with that. When small scale validation, I think LinkedIn is great. So if you're like, I want to build a product for big IT teams and big corporations, and you hunt out DevOps people or whatever, you can go find them on LinkedIn. For validation, I'm a huge fan of just trying to get someone on the phone and go, well, how much would you pay for this? Well, why? What would you need to pay for this? And if we did security integration with your internal corporation, how much would you pay more? Is that important to how much you pay or not? What would you need to go from the free product to the paid product? And I find that when I kind of do that interactively, I can go drill on a couple of people and go, okay, clearly all this, the assumptions are like, these are clearly yes, these are clearly no. I can now kind of dive in future questions on more nuanced stuff.
I would encourage you for your first 100 customers to do it in person. And the advantage of the website and driving that traffic is to get a market segment that's dense enough that if you call them and arrange a meeting, that the chances are that they'll be within driving distance and care about what you want to talk about.
You mean do a sale face-to-face?
I think that your customer learning and your discovery and validation should happen face-to-face with people so you can watch them flinch.
Very good. The other thing I've seen is one startup needs to acquire personal trainers, and that's a whole kind of thing. And right now they kind of drive across town and they can go do 1 a day or 2 a day. With this, you send out 400 emails and try across the country. And then what I kind of say to them is ask them a few questions before the interview and say, hey, I'm going to interview you because I think you've got a lot of great, amazing experience in different areas. And hey, we would bring you more clients. Do you care or not care? And just like, what do you care about this? Or what do you care about that? Or what would you love to do in your career? And get their interview out of them. You can use that for validation and say, okay, I'm going to go publish this publicly. Yeah, you told them up front. If there's any pieces you want me to mask out, just let me know. And then when you shut that down, you can say, hey, now would you want to sign up for our site and be a personal trainer with us? What's nice about that is you get the video out of that. And so if you go, when you do the labor interactively, you're now going to have people over time coming to you and saying, yeah, I do want to sign up. And you're shifting that from all the labor, got some initial people and validation, and then now you have people just automatically signing up, even from a rare audience, and their trust is pretty high. And they're just going to stick longer, and their paying customers are going to pay faster. It's just really powerful back end.
So I detected a flag in there for me. So let me go on to a rant for a moment, if you don't mind. I believe that you can sell a product to someone who's in pain and needs that product before you build it. I believe that you can determine who a customer is and who is not a customer by taking money from them. And without taking money, you can't tell the difference between cheerleaders and customers. So you must go find people who will pay you for a problem to be solved before you know what it is that they're a customer for, before you build the product. If you don't do that, then you're highly at risk for building something that nobody wants.
It's kind of what Kickstarter does, right?
Actually, Kickstarter does a bad job of that because 60% of Kickstarter traffic comes from your previously existing conversation. It's far better to do what he's talking about here before you do your Kickstarter and build your audience and then take your audience there. So if you have a little tiny audience and 60% of your Kickstarters from your current audience, then your Kickstarter is going to be small. So if you want a big Kickstarter, then you got to have a big audience to begin with. And you can't find out who the customers in your audience are until you ask them to pay you.
Here's an illustration of what John was saying. I think John was saying if they can pay you $1,000 each up front, then you get 20 of those. That's $20,000 either monthly or yearly or whatever. Then you can go use that to go build your company. And so an example of this is you can go talk to somebody in IT. They use a certain logging system across many servers. There's an open source one, but it's a nightmare to roll out, and they burn tons of hours on that. So if you're like, oh, I would love to build it and have them fund paying for it, but I want to validate that, you can go up and interview with the first IT person and go, hey, rolling out such and such open source thing is a nightmare. I want to go find out if people find a real pain in that. If you would pay me $1,000 a month or a year and sign up now, I'll go build it. I just need 20 people to sign up. And how's it painful? Do you care? So on. And then you go record this and say, hey, I want to publish this. And you go publish that. And so that was somebody off in T-Mobile's IT department. And then you go off and email somebody else in Expedia's IT department. and you go say, I'd love to interview you, find out if you care about this too. Here's a link from the person from T-Mobile. They hated this problem too, and they would love this. And then so that link to the video will have them more likely to say yes, and your trust in you has gone way up. And what you can do is basically is each one, I call it like you're in a room interviewing one person, and there's a door they can open up to tens of thousands, and you either pick up a microphone, open the doors, you speak to the one, and you let the conversation go out to the thousands, or you keep the door shut and you turn the microphone off, and you speak to one, you wasted an hour, and you have no magnifying effect, right? You can still do validation, you can still focus one-on-one, you can still really go deep with that person. It's just, your time is valuable, you might as well have your company and your vision and your story just flow to huge numbers, and then you go to sleep and then you get 8 emails in the morning, right? And they're like, I am really dialed into what you want, please take my money, please solve that problem. And then now
That's who you want as your customer.
Yes.
Please take my money now.
Yeah, the thousands that don't care won't email you. The 8 deep in that will kind of like be the path. You talk to me. You built that for me. I will pay you, right? And you want to do that. So
and what do you think is more effective? So interviewing someone, okay, just interviewing, asking them certain questions, okay, or interviewing someone as they're solving a problem and they're right there on the floor, wherever it is, and they're showing you how they solved it. They got maybe if it's healthcare, the patient there or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you edit that down to 1, 2, 3 minutes. What's your opinion?
What I would say is I'm skewing a lot of this because this audience right here is almost, they haven't built a product and built their startup and have launched it, and their only goal is growing revenue. This is kind of an audience that has heavy in validation of early ideas, and so I'm kind of going heavy onto a model of validate, just use a big voice, and maybe help self-fund it, and so I'm kind of going through a skew of this. This is normally for once you validated and your assumptions all great, and you got all the funding built and your product is built, then this is the systematic, one holistic plan to grow traffic and make it easy to manage and diagnose and all that. And so that's mostly what this is built for, but it works really, really well for the early validation side. And so that's why I'm kind of going under 2 different models here. And then
His question is, do I interview in a white room or do I interview in context?
Mm-hmm.
Do you care?
See, you kind of care about quantity, and then once in a while you'll go to a conference or a marathon or whatever it'll be. So I would almost say, think of if you show up somewhere, do it opportunistically. Either the person's a really high-end VP of HR, and you have to get a meetup to get these kind of people, or you want to go off in some physical location, or the fashion industry, like, yeah, the fashion show is just over, what do you think about this fashion, that fashion, whatever, and then you might utilize an event or some physicality for some of that, but that's kind of a unique opportunity. But I think mostly for high volume, if you send out 400 emails, you'll get 20 people, and you can start to pack your schedule, and you can get 20 videos, no problem.
I think they don't believe that you can send 400 emails.
Not through LinkedIn.
How do I get 400 emails?
So let's see.
You don't mean I'm going to spam people?
Not. You have to do the handwritten email, and you got to directly to them, and you want to go really talk about, like, I care about you because you're in this space doing this stuff. I want to interview you about this stuff. And after a while, you can kind of say, this interview with someone similar to you at this company doing this stuff, and that's why I want to interview you. So it's not spam, but you want it to be authentic.
So I'm just thinking, like, based on what you said, so like, how long does it take to write an authentic email? It takes a few minutes. So to send 400
You pay $24 a year, and you have a spreadsheet of emails in Google Spreadsheet, and you hit the go button, and in 5 minutes, they've all been sent a personalized email with mail merge.
Yeah, so nothing, like, everyone will love a flip of a switch, and you get no work. And that's why I say eventually, if you built your product, you invested a whole bunch of money in building the product, and you want to go scale money, having somebody full-time doing this could make sense. But, let's say down the road you've planned everything out, you built a product, it's then make or break to grow revenue. It's just almost nothing else matters at that point, right? Going to some startup meetings and go talk about some stuff here or there, and you come back and you still have no customers. It's a big waste of time, right? So I say is once you get launched and you got a product sitting there and no one's using it, you should almost think I should spend 90% of my time doing this for customer acquisition. Traction will get you funding, traction will get you profitable, traction will pay the bills, you know, traction is everything. And if you go pick at other startups and you go, oh, what'd you do? You know, you're launched and you build it all out and you just finished a month. What'd you do to acquire customers? You'd be shocked at how little they did. I had 8 meetings. I talked to someone in a meeting over here and someone over here, and none of it gets leverage. And it's basically they're taking conversations they're having, and they're probably amazing conversations, and they shut the door and they don't let it broadcast out.